The sky tore open above the trees, and I froze with my rifle halfway raised, because nothing on Earth moves like that. Nothing on Earth screams green fire across the clouds and slams into the ground hard enough to shake the soles of my boots from half a mile away. I was 17, alone in the woods behind our farm, and every instinct told me to run home and lock the door. Instead, I ran toward the crash, my heart hammering, branches slapping my face, mud pulling at my boots, because some part of me already knew that whatever had fallen out of the sky needed help before it needed anything else. The wreck sat in the creek bed, metal folded like crushed paper, still glowing faint orange at the edges, hissing steam into the cold night air. And a few feet from it, thrown clear by the impact, lay a woman. She did not look entirely human, but she was close enough that my mind accepted her instantly. Her skin held a soft violet undertone under the moonlight. Her collarbone was wrong, replaced by two thin ridges that caught the light. A wound bled steadily along her side, soaking into the grass beneath her. I did not think. I pulled off my jacket, pressed it hard against the wound, and hauled her over my shoulders the way I had hauled hay bales 100 times before, except this time my hands were shaking and my breath came out in short, panicked bursts. I ran. 2 miles through the dark, branches tearing at my arms, her weight nearly buckling my knees, until the lights of our farmhouse finally appeared through the trees. My grandfather Walter opened the door before I even reached the porch. He had been a medic decades earlier, in a war he rarely spoke about, and one look at the woman on my shoulders was enough. He did not ask what she was. He simply said, "Get her to the cellar," and started pulling out supplies I did not know we owned. For 9 days I barely left her side. Her fever ran higher than anything a human body could survive, yet Walter insisted it was normal for her, and somehow he was right. Our medicine nearly killed her once, so we switched to boiled water, clean cloth, and patience. I fed her broth 1 spoon at a time when she was too weak to lift her own head. I stayed awake in 2-hour shifts, listening to her breathing change from ragged to steady. On the 9th day, her eyes opened fully for the first time, sharp and alert, studying my face like she was trying to solve a puzzle. She spoke one broken word in accented English. Why? I did not have a clever answer. I just told her the truth. Because you needed help. Something shifted in her expression, like she had expected a different answer and did not know what to do with mine. She did not speak again for 2 full days, but she started eating on her own, started sitting up, started healing faster than any of us expected. Her name was Sci-Fi. She told me slowly, piece by piece, over the following weeks, that she was a scout from a species called the Ithran, sent to quietly observe worlds like ours before any official contact was made. Her ship had suffered a catastrophic failure. Her crew had not survived the crash. She alone had been thrown clear. She told me her people believed young species like mine were dangerous, unpredictable, prone to violence before reason. I asked if she still believed that. She looked down at the careful stitches along her side, at the exhaustion clearly written across my face from nights of watching over her, and she said, "Not about all of you." 3 weeks after the crash, a signal finally answered her emergency beacon. A retrieval ship arrived quietly at night, no lights, no sound, beyond a faint hum, as it settled into the field behind our house. She had to leave. The laws of her coalition were absolute, no lingering contact, no exceptions, no matter the circumstances. At the edge of the tree line, she pressed something small and smooth into my palm, a dark stone that pulsed faintly with warmth, almost like it was alive. "This will find you," she said, "if I ever come back." Then she was gone, swallowed by the dark, and I stood alone in that field for nearly an hour, 17 years old, holding a stone that felt like the only proof any of it had actually happened. Life did not pause for me to process what had happened. I finished school. I studied engineering, drawn toward anything that involved flight, propulsion, the kind of technology that had once fallen out of the sky and changed everything for me. I built a career, a routine, a normal life on the surface. But every night that stone sat in the drawer beside my bed, and some nights I held it just to remind myself I had not imagined the whole thing. I told exactly one person the full truth, my grandfather, before he passed away peacefully several years later. He only smiled and said, "Some debts get repaid eventually. You just have to be patient." I did not fully understand what he meant until years after that conversation. I was 28, living alone in a small house not far from where I grew up, when the stone in my drawer began to glow. I sat on my porch steps until sunrise, unable to sleep, unable to look away from the sky. Just as dawn broke over the horizon, the air above the field rippled, not violently this time, but carefully, deliberately. as a ship descended and settled into the grass without a sound. She stepped out changed, older, composed, dressed in a uniform that blended function with ceremony. I later learned that her people had made official contact with Earth's governments 2 years earlier, a moment I had watched unfold on the news like everyone else, never once suspecting the woman at the center of those historic meetings was the same one I had once carried through the woods on my shoulders. She had become a liaison between our worlds, and she had used every bit of influence she had earned to ensure her first personal visit back to Earth was to me. "You kept it," she said, nodding toward the stone glowing softly in my palm. "You kept your promise," I answered. The years that followed were not simple. There were treaties to navigate, suspicion on both sides that took real effort to overcome, protocols that had never once accounted for two people like us. Some called our situation a diplomatic curiosity. Others called it reckless. None of that mattered the day she stood in that same field, the exact spot where we had said goodbye more than a decade earlier, and asked if I would bond with her the way her people do, fully, honestly, without reservation, for the rest of our lives. I said yes before she even finished asking. We were married that autumn, half under human tradition and half under hers, in a quiet ceremony held near the old cellar where she had first begun to heal, a place we later turned into something like a shrine to where everything had started. People sometimes ask if I have any regrets, loving someone from so far away, carrying a secret for over a decade, reshaping my entire life around one impossible night in the woods when I was 17. I never need to answer with words. I simply show them the stone. It still glows, faintly, every single time she walks into the room. That is answer enough.